Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Grizzly K, and today we are looking at the Dylan Rounds case. I could see from the poll that I've made on the live stream, if you're a replay watcher, then you would have missed the poll, no worries. But I could see that a lot of you actually haven't really heard of this case, or maybe you need a refresher. So, what we're going to do today is I've made a presentation. Of course, as you know, I like to make presentations for you guys. So I made a presentation so that we can go over all the details and just refresh ourselves on this case, on all the details. Then we're going to look at all the latest documents, including the new charges in this case, which are now murder charges. And then we'll look at some clips and Dylan Rounds' parents' latest interview with East Idaho News. So thank you so much for being here. If you are here with me live, then happy Saturday to you. If you are a replay watcher, thank you so much for watching. Either way, would you please like the video and share it? You could share it with hashtag Dylan Rounds and also hashtag Grizzly True Crime. So thank you so much. And thank you so much, PT, always spoiling fury. I really appreciate that. Okay, so let's get the presentation going here. So Dylan Rounds has been missing since May 27th, 2022. He was last seen in Montello, Nevada. His truck and boots were found about 5 miles west of his camper, and Dylan has still, unfortunately, not been found. So you could see that the reward in this case is high, which is great to see that they're like, okay, there's a $200,000 reward. Anyone with information, please do come forward. Now, today's press release, it's actually March 3rd and now it's March 4th, so late last night sometime, press release, the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office said on March the 3rd, 2023, the Box Elder County Attorney's Office filed criminal charges with the First District Court in Box Elder County in connection with the investigation of the disappearance of Dylan Rounds. James Brenner was formally charged with aggravated murder, a first-degree felony, and abuse or desecration of a human body, a third-degree felony, for the murder of Dylan Rounds and the disposal of his body, which was very sad to read. These charges come after a difficult and extensive 9-month investigation by the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office and are supported by the information that has been gathered and evidence collected. The evidence supports that James Brenner is the only suspect. Although the remains of Dylan Rounds have yet to be located, we are hopeful that they will be found in the future. We express our condolences to the family of Dylan Rounds. We'd like to also express our immense gratitude to the following for their assistance with this case. This has truly been a team effort, and you can see all the agencies and everyone listed there, including Texas EquiSearch. There was Heavy D Sparks and his team out there. Everybody's been helping out in this case. Okay. So that is the update there. We are going to go over the documents with the new charges, which gives us some more details right after this presentation. I just want to make sure that anyone who doesn't really know about the case, that we all caught up together. Yes, Marco, we're going to go over exactly who James Brenner is and all of that. So Dylan Rounds was 19 years old when he went missing. So he was born on the 1st of August, 2002, and he's from Idaho. His whole family's from Idaho, and he has been living part-time in Lucin, Utah for the past 3 years. This would be his third season out there. It's a 600-acre piece of land owned by his family. Dylan wanted to work on growing animal feed or lucerne even in the most remote area. He had big goals for farming, and he wanted to show that you can farm anywhere, even in the desert. He was showing the world what was possible. Dylan also worked other odd jobs and on other farms, especially in between seasons on the family farm. And his family, at that point at which this presentation we made, I think it was 8 months ago, you guys. But I've updated it now, of course. But there at that point, I left that there because they said his family believes that there's foul play involved. And we used the hashtag trust the family then as well. And unfortunately, they were right. You know, there was foul play involved. So this is where Dylan lived. We'll look at the maps as well in today's stream. So it's a very remote area. There was like a little pond there as well. They drained that pond very early on in the investigation. And yeah, he was just trying to grow some crops out there. And he was very excited about the season. These are just some pictures of him, you know, sleeping in the back of his truck and farming. He just loved farming so much. His parents said when they were able to clone his phone and go into his social media accounts and, things he was researching, and it was all farming. It was tractors and grain and, all that kind of stuff. So, yes. Now, timeline. On Wednesday, May 25th, during a call with his mother, Dylan told her about a weird encounter with a man walking barefoot in the desert. The man asked if he could use Dylan's phone, which he allowed. And then he asked him for a ride, which Dylan then declined. Dylan said that he appeared to be high or something. Now, that's what Dylan told his mom, but it later turned out that he actually did give the man a ride. This barefoot man went into town and was asking about Dylan, apparently around Sunday, May 29th. And no, town is Montello, and the population there is 59 people. Someone in town allegedly gave this barefoot man a ride to Dylan's farm, so back to the farm, but there is no conclusive evidence or follow up of this. Dylan's mom said that he told her that the man looked like he'd been out there for days, that he was bloody and scratched up. This man was Chase Venstra. Law enforcement said that Chase had called them all day, but they hadn't talked to him yet. He is since in custody on unrelated charges. Dylan's mom says that Dylan did give Chase a ride that day, but just told her that he didn't because he knew that she would get upset. Chase had a solid alibi and was 200 miles away. In the beginning of this case, he was one of, I suppose, the public's persons of interest, I would say. I mean, of course, law enforcement also questioned him, but he had a solid alibi and was early on already ruled out. Okay. So Dylan also spoke with his mom and dad on the phone on Thursday, May 26th. And then on Friday, May 27th, Dylan's debit card was used at the Saddle Saw Bar in Montello, Nevada. So there's a picture of the Saddle Saw Bar as well. On Thursday, May 26th, Dylan's debit card was used there, okay, so at the Saddle Saw Bar in Montello, Nevada. On Friday, May 27th, a friend said that he saw Dylan in person in town. Then on Saturday, May 28th, Dylan actually spoke with his grandmother at 6:51 a.m. and told her that he couldn't really talk because there was rain coming, there was rain forecast that day, and he needed to put his grain truck in his shed. He told her that he would call her right back, but she just never heard from him again. On Sunday, May 29th, his grandmother then called Don and Jim. So remember the name Jim here, okay? And asked them to go and look if everything was okay on the farm. So Jim is the guy now with the murder charges, and we're going to look at the updates and those documents. But these two lived on this farm out in the desert and were helping out with odd jobs on the farm. So the grandmother called Don and Jim and said, "Hey, can you go out there and look if everything's okay on the farm?" When they got there, they noticed that Dylan was not there, but that his truck was there. On Thursday, May 26th, no, we did this already. Sorry. Stand by. Wait. Yeah, okay. They saw that, they saw that his truck was there and later realized that his truck had been pressure washed. But now it turns out, I think it's Jim who did that. It had rained there. There were no tracks or footprints leading to the truck or anything. So it was all very strange. On Monday, May 30th, Dylan's best friend called Dylan's mother, Candice, and asked her if she'd heard from Dylan. He said that Dylan's grandmother had not heard back from Dylan, that Don and Jim were out at the farm, and there was no sign of Dylan, and that Justin, Candice's ex-husband, had also not heard from him. The family called local law enforcement, and search and rescue operations began. Within an hour and a half, they located Dylan's boots, approximately 100 yards south from where his grain truck was parked. Dylan is very particular about his boots and has been that way since he was 3 years old. He wore Georgia work boots. Okay, so the boots were a big deal then, and it felt, like really sad and scary just to think where he always wore those boots, and now they like just there, just chucked behind like a sand dune. So this photo was provided by Heavy D Sparks. They showed you where the boots were found and Dylan's grain truck. Okay, just so that you could see. There was a drop of blood on the boots. The police took the boots in as evidence, but only sent them to the lab for testing on June 6th. And now, in the latest documents we'll find, we're going to learn more about that. So it really was blood on the boots because we all wondered, was it animal blood? Was it human blood? Like, what was it? And unfortunately, it was. Dylan's blood and Jim Brenner's DNA was also on the boots. The family couldn't find the keys to Dylan's truck, so his dad broke out the back window. Dylan's mom said that he never locked his truck. Law enforcement in Elko County was notified about the case on Tuesday, May 31st. The family realized later that Dylan's truck had been pressure washed. No tracks, no mud on the tires, no mud on the rims, but mud in the wheel wells. So that was very interesting as well. This is a picture of the truck and with the mud still in the wheel wells. So this is also a picture just of the area. We'll look at the map if you want to just like take a mental picture of this. We can look at it and just see at the end of that road is the place where the grain shed was and where the boots were found just 100 yards south. So we'll look at that as well. But you could see how very remote the area was. And this teenager had big goals to grow crops out there. So, note the seat of Dylan's truck was adjusted to the point where Dylan's mom, who's 4'11", did not have to adjust it to drive it. She found that very unusual. The truck was also placed in the position of four-wheel drive, but four-wheel drive was not currently working. The transfer case in his vehicle got messed up in the winter. Dylan's phone last pinged at 3:41 p.m. on Saturday, May 28th, from Lucin, Utah. Okay, around the Lucin Pond, which is very important now based on the new documents that we have. So just keep that all in mind. So within a 15.4-mile radius from the cell tower, the farm falls in this area. Remember that his boots were found on the farm, so his last known location was the farm on Saturday, May 28th. He disappeared sometime after the call with his grandmother on Saturday. Note his mom confirmed that family have been looking into Dylan's social media accounts, so his phone seems active, but it isn't. Because some people were then calling in tips saying, oh my word, he's on Snapchat, he's on Facebook. But they'd managed to clone his phone and able to look into his social media accounts to see if it could help at all. Welcome to all the new members. And welcome everyone to the stream. His family believes that Dylan was taken and that foul play is involved. That was their gut instinct all along. And sadly, we just found out yesterday, late last night, that they were right. Yes. Aerial footage showed tire tracks in the wash in the Montello area, single pickup tracks. The tread is similar to Dylan's, but we don't know. Police didn't go and confirm that those were actually Dylan's truck's tracks. Law enforcement is yet to test the tracks to see if it matches Dylan's tires. Candice says that because it rained, these tracks would have been made sometime late on Sunday afternoon. There are also marks where a truck fishtailed. Locals have said if you ever want to get rid of someone in this area, you just wait till it rains and then you take them out to the wash. So that is all very, very scary to think about, and especially because they still haven't found Dylan Rounds. It was never uncommon, it wasn't uncommon for each individual family member not to hear from Dylan for a few days. He was in contact with family frequently, but they only realized on Monday, May 30th, that he had not been in contact with anyone. It's been confirmed with phone records that the last call that Dylan made was on Saturday to his grandmother. In the early stages of the search for Dylan, law enforcement did not fingerprint the truck. They allowed the family to take the truck, and a broken window was repaired. Any hope of DNA evidence on the truck has been destroyed because by now too many people have been in and around the truck. The family is in contact with Ford to see if they can find any tracking information for the vehicle. The family does not have a GoFundMe set up, so don't donate to scams out there because we saw that happen in this case as well, where all these GoFundMes went up and it wasn't the families. So Karen, Dylan's grandma, called John and he went to check out the farm saying that the truck was locked. He didn't know if Dylan's guns were in it and he couldn't find Dylan. He then went to get Jim and they returned to the farm to look more. Now that is all in hindsight very interesting, especially because when Jim Brenner was arrested in the summer last year in 2022, It's all relating to gun charges. He is a former convicted felon. He's not allowed to have weapons, and they found a whole bunch of guns on him. And he'd also asked this Don guy to hide some guns for him. So that all got real interesting. So just keep that in mind before we look at the new document. Okay, so from Saturday night until Monday morning, Don and Jim had supposedly been looking for Dylan on the farm. Jim's the one who's been charged with murder. Remember that Dylan had just fired. Remember that. So Dylan had actually fired Don 3 to 4 weeks before. They had some tension, some arguments. He'd known these guys for about 3 to 4 years or so, and they were doing some odd jobs for him out there on the farm. It's his family's farm. He was very passionate about what he did. And even though he's a teenager, I mean, he took everything he did very seriously. And if he thought that people were maybe messing around or messing him around or talking to him in a certain way, I mean, he fired Don 3 to 4 weeks before. Don and Jim are trying to point the searchers in the direction of Montello, which is interesting as well. So Don and Jim said it was the first time that Dylan had ever closed the gate when he had come to drop the truck off. So according to them, Dylan must have driven his pickup truck to his camper, but his dad says that Dylan would usually take the shortest route and would walk it. Don and Jim are the only two guys that have connections to the farm and were there. So what would a motive be at the time? We speculated it. I left it in here for today's presentation just to go over everything again. It always helps to go back to the beginning. Motive, well, they would take over the farm if Dylan was no longer there. And Don is Dylan's grandfather's good friend. And Grandpa is business partners with Dylan. But Dylan doesn't like Don and he fired him. So Don is not considered a suspect. It's Jim, Don's friend. And thankfully, Don told the police about the guns that Jim had asked him to hide. So that helped as well. So James Brenner has been formally charged with aggravated murder and abuse or desecration of a human body. So let me get those ready for us. It would be this one. Okay, so this is the guy. And by the way, just to show you this picture, at the time when we were all looking at this case, when this happened, when he got arrested, which was in June last year. Let me just quickly look at my notes here. James Brenner arrest warrant was June 30th. 59-year-old man. He was squatting in a trailer 5 miles from the property, and he agreed to speak to investigators. And on June 16th already, there was a warrant on Brenner's trailer. He is a convicted felon. He had 33 months before that he spent in prison for having firearms. On June 11th, Box Elder County Sheriff's Department asked the FBI to join the case. And then on June 16th, they searched Brenner's trailer and they had no muzzle-loaded guns that they found there. And then on June 20th, a friend of Brenner's, which would be Don, Don was interviewed by the FBI and the Box Elder Sheriff's Office. Don said that Brenner brought three guns over and asked him to safe keep them for his own safety because he says if the police found those guns on him, because he's a felon, he's not allowed to have guns, they could take everything away from him again. Okay? So Don gave these muzzle loaders to investigators, and Brenner apparently also brought him, this is one he didn't mention before. Later, then Don said, by the way, he also brought me a 22 caliber rifle, but Don didn't feel it was necessary to report that because it was it's actually Don's gun. It's just, it belonged to the person, are you following? It belonged to the person that had previously rented the trailer where Jim Brenner was now staying in. Okay, and that person owed Don money. So Don kept that person's gun. And then Jim Brenner took over that trailer and took over that gun. And eventually he brought that gun to Don as well. He's like, okay, can you keep these for me as well? So James Brenner, there was an arrest warrant served. And James helped Dylan with some odd jobs on the farm. And Dylan knew him since he was about 15 or 16. So that's everything we need to know there. Now let's look at this document over here. Thank you so much to the docket for always getting us the latest documents in these cases. I really, really appreciate it. We love documents, seeing the facts on paper like this. So this is in the United States District Court, District of Utah, United States of America, plaintiff versus James Brenner, defendant. Okay. So before Daphne A. Oberg, United States Magistrate Judge for the District of Utah, appears the undersigned, who on oath deposes and says, Count one, felon in possession of a firearm. Oh, this was, hold on. The indictment. Yes, is that it? Wait. I've got so many of them. Hold on. Oh, this was firstly, okay, wait. We're going to go over the new one now. But this was felon in possession of a firearm. On or about June 8th, 2022, in the District of Utah, James Brenner, defendant herein, knowing he had been convicted of a crime punishable by a term of imprisonment of exceeding 1 year, did knowingly possess a firearm. To wit, a 22 caliber Winchester rifle, and the firearm was in and affecting commerce, all in violation of 18. Affidavit in support of complaint and arrest warrant. So I'm taking you back to when he was first arrested, and then we'll look at the new charges, okay? So they say your affiant is a special agent and all that stuff. I'm going to continue on. On May 30th, 2022, Box Elder County Dispatch received a call of a missing 19-year-old male, initials DR. He was last seen in Lucin, Utah area. On this day, DR contacted a relative by phone and told him that he was putting the grain truck into shelter. The shelter for the grain truck was reported to be on a parcel of land owned by Box Elder Land and Livestock owners, initials JC, and is adjacent to two other parcels that are owned by SH and RI. These parcels are open to each other and collectively used together. The subject in this case, an adult male named James Brenner, has no ownership in the land parcels mentioned above and is squatting in a trailer located on the land. The missing 19-year-old male DR's property in a 5-mile walk towards the southeast of where Brenner was currently living. Brenner and another Lucin resident, DH, were considered family friends of Dylan Rounds and his family. In searching for the missing 19-year-old male, Brenner was interviewed by BECSO on June 7th, 2022. DH was also subsequently interviewed by law enforcement. On or about June 11th, 2022, Box Elder County, in their search for the missing 19-year-old male, DR, requested assistance from the FBI. So you can see everything I've just told you. We're going over it here in the document so you can see the dates. And you know the backstory so that you understand now that it's huge, literal. It was breaking news last night. It was 3 a.m. for me, actually, when it was like, oh my word, now there's murder charges and we're going to find out why. So on June 16th, 2022, BECSO, with assistance of the FBI, executed a search warrant at the trailer where Brenner was living. During that search, ball ammunition, ignition caps, black powder, and speed loads, all related to muzzle loading, were located and photographed in the trailer, but the items were not seized at this time by BECSO. There were no muzzle-loader firearms located in the trailer at that time. On June 20th, 2022, a friend and neighbor of Brenner, DH, which would be Don, was interviewed by BECSO and the FBI. During that interview, DH advised that after Dylan Rounds went missing, and sometime after Brenner's initial June 7th, 2022 interview with BECSO, Brenner brought 3 black powder guns over to DH's residence and asked him to safekeep them. When DH asked why, Brenner said he needed to do this for his own safety, and that the last time he had trouble with the law, they took everything from him, and he didn't want the things that he had left to be taken again. DH agreed to store the muzzle loaders for him. At the time of the interview, DH turned over the 3 muzzle loaders to BECSO, who booked them into evidence. On June 21st, 2022, DH was again interviewed by the FBI. During this interview, DH advised that Brenner had also brought him a 22 caliber rifle around the same time that he had brought over the muzzle loaders. DH told us that he didn't mention this rifle, when interviewed before because he had been owed money by the rifle's original owner, and that he felt that he should have a claim over the 22 caliber rifle that Brenner asked him to store to cover the debt. He explained to us that the rifle had been left in a trailer on the property where Brenner had been living, prior to Brenner living there, by a person who owed DH money. Brenner, upon moving into the trailer, had taken possession of it. DH knew that Brenner wasn't allowed to have firearms because of his criminal history. DH turned over to the FBI the 22 caliber rifle and case that Brenner had personally handed to him and asked him to store. The rifle was loaded with 5 rounds of 22 caliber ammunition. The 22 caliber rifle is a Winchester model. There's the number, model 69. On the rifle, it says made in New Haven, Con. So no serial number was located. On June 21st, another search warrant was conducted at the trailer where Brenner was currently living. During this warrant, BECSO seized a muzzleloader, one box of 45 caliber lead round ball ammunition, one box of Spear 570 lead ball, one box of Federal 45 lead ball ammunition, ignition caps, 4 pounds of Hornady black powder, and speed loads, and booked them into evidence. Okay. On May 21st, 2012, James Brenner was sentenced to 33 months in prison for a conviction of felon in possession of a firearm. Brenner also has additional felony convictions on his criminal history. Based on the foregoing information, your affiant respectfully requests that an arrest warrant be issued for James Brenner. Now you got the backstory, okay? Yes, Connecticut, yes. Okay, so now hold on one second. I just want to get that other document, which, stand by. I've just downloaded so many things. Hold on. I've got so many documents here. Just stand by, you guys. Is it this one? Yeah, worst is like, I'll take a life, but don't take my things. Yes, okay. So it would be this document here. There we go. Do it like this for you. Okay, so State of Utah plaintiff versus James A. Brenner summons. The undersigned, a prosecuting attorney, states on information and belief that the above-named defendant in Box Elder County, State of Utah, committed the following crimes. This is the brand new document. So thank you so much to the docket for this. Okay, so count 1, aggravated murder, first-degree felony. So a first-degree felony in violation of Utah code. There's the code number. That on or about May 28th, 2022, the defendant did 1, intentionally or knowingly cause the death of another, and the defendant, the actor previously committed or was convicted of an offense committed in another jurisdiction, which if committed in the state, in the state would be a violation of a crime listed in the subsection, or an offense committed in another jurisdiction, which if committed in the state would be a violation of a crime listed in the subsection. Karen, thank you so much. You say, I just Googled aggravated murder is the only crime with the possibility of death penalty in Utah. Yes, thank you so much. I really hope that they offer him some sort of a plea deal, right? To say, well, death penalty is on the table, buddy. So, but we can give you a plea deal if you tell us where the body is, because, you know, we'll see from his parents' latest interview, which was only 11 days ago, that like, we just want to bring Dylan home. They want to find Dylan, of course. So count 1 is aggravated murder, and count 2 is abuse or desecration of a human body, a third-degree felony in violation of Utah code as follows. That on or about May 28th, 2022, the defendant did intentionally and unlawfully disturb, move, remove, conceal, or destroy a dead human body or any part of it. This information is based on evidence obtained from Detective Zachary Richard Moore, dated this 3rd day of March 2023. Before I read the bottom, I just want to quickly go up here. Yeah, so they're talking about May 28th. May 28th, 2022. That'd be the day after he was last seen, right? Wow, that's pretty scary, actually. So just quickly go to the calendar here. May 28th, 2022. That would be... No, that is a Saturday, yeah. Okay, wow. And then if we go all the way to the bottom here, this is where there's a very interesting paragraph here. Let me make it full screen. Factual basis or probable cause statement. The 19-year-old victim was reported as a missing person on or about May 30th, 2022. Sheriff's deputies, along with search and rescue crews, immediately got to work on efforts to locate the victim, but were unsuccessful. During the search, deputies discovered a pair of boots belonging to the victim nearby. One boot had a blood stain that DNA analysis confirmed belonged to the victim, in addition to DNA belonging to the defendant. The victim's phone records were also obtained, which showed movements on the day of his disappearance on a remote property in Lucin where the defendant was squatting. Phone data showed that the last signal from the victim's phone was at the Lucin Pond, and a search of the pond led to the discovery of the victim's phone. A digital forensic download of the phone was conducted and led to the discovery of a time lapse video with a timestamp taken at the time of the victim's disappearance. The video showed the defendant, which is James Brenner, with bloodstains on his arms and shirt as he's cleaning a gun. The shirt, which the defendant is wearing in the video, was analyzed, and the victim's DNA was found on the shirt. The defendant was interviewed and made several claims that corroborated forensic evidence in addition to making numerous demonstrably false statements. Despite a thorough investigation and extensive search, the victim's body was not recovered due to the defendant removing and concealing it. So, I'm not sure if that Lucin Pond is the one as you enter Lucin, or if it's the pond near his camper. So maybe we should look at the map a little bit. Let's do that, shall we? Let's look at the map. Okay, so let's just get this over here. So we've got I've got these little pinpoints for you. Here's the Lucin Airport, which has nothing to do with the case. It's just always a good place to start of like, wait, where am I now? Okay. So you could just see it's such a remote area. Lucin, Utah, and you've got the border here to cross over to Nevada. So where Dylan was physically last seen in person was at the Saddle Sore Bar in Montello. Okay. So that's over here. He would drive here sometimes to hang out here with some friends or to go and eat there. There was like, the Saddle Sore Bar. You could go there for a burger or whatever. And, oh, sorry, we're going on this page here. Lucin is over here. Now, if you look like this, Dylan's grain shed was over here. So he borrowed the grain shed. He asked someone, can he park his truck in there? Especially because of, when it's going to rain and he had seeds in the truck ready to plant and everything. He didn't want that to get all wet in the rain because then it would go all moldy, right? And the seeds would not make it. So he put his truck in the grain shed, and where his camper actually was over here, which is about, I think it's about 5 miles away or so. Here's these like sun tunnels, which are very nice as well. So if you go here, I know that they drained this pond very early on in the investigation. But I'm thinking it's the actual Lucin Pond. I don't have it on the map here now. I'm not sure where they got the phone from, but amazing that they got his phone and were able to extract. Can you believe it, you guys? Like, in the Alec Murdoch case, I mean, I'm just not to get too much into that case now. Please, let's not, okay? I'm just saying like the Snapchat and phone data really helped prove a lot. And here, wow. I mean, to think that Dylan's phone recorded video, and they said it's like a time lapse that they could see with a time stamp, and they could actually see the person, James Brenner, they've just charged with murder. Of course, he's innocent or proven guilty in a court of law. And he's already got charges. He's got those weapons charges with a whole separate trial. So I'm not sure if they're going to combine these charges to just have one trial, or if he's going to have two different trials for two different things. But to think that the phone recorded stuff and they were able to extract that months later. Amazing, right? So this is where the camper was. And this is where the grain shed is all the way up here. And this is where Don and Jim stayed around here. I think it's somewhere around here at the back here. And the boots were found around here, if I remember correctly. Because I remember it being just south this way. Somewhere around here, there's like a dirt mound, and Dylan's boots were just chucked there behind that. We looked at the picture earlier in the stream, right? So this over here is the grain shed. Dylan had called his grandmother to say, okay, I got to go. I got to put my truck in this grain shed because he doesn't want to he doesn't want the seeds to be all rained on. And that's the last anyone heard from him. So something must have gone down here because then those boots were found chucked over here with a blood stain on it. Also very like carelessly, just chucked there. I mean, and who knows what they then did with Dylan. Where is he? Where did they hide the body? And not they, the person who's been charged, right? Which is James Brenner. So you remember earlier I showed you a picture and I said, don't worry, we'll go. It was like this whole long road. I think we were about over here when I showed you a picture of the remote area. So then I told you I'll show you on the map. That's what I'm showing you over here. Okay. Yeah, you're saying what made him video? I don't know. Like if I just go here again, let's just pull up that document one more time. This one. So it's this one where they say phone data showed the last signal from the victim's phone was at the Lucin Pond, and a search of the pond led to the victim's phone. So that tells me that wherever this guy hid Dylan's body, which is always hard to say. I mean, we always hope they'll be found somehow. What happened? But okay. Let's just keep on track here. That the phone being found so close in proximity to the camper and the farm and everything tells me that they wouldn't have gone that far, right? Logically, to hide. And again, I say they. I mean, the guy who was charged to hide the body. So I really hope that he'll give up some information now that he's going to be facing not only the weapons charges, but also murder charges and, moving a human body, all of that. Yes, I hope that they'll be able to pressure him and be like, we can offer you a plea deal if you want. Where is the body? Because really, at this point, only he knows. So they say the video, okay, wait, a digital forensic download of the phone was conducted and led to the discovery of a time-lapse video with a time stamp taken at the time of the victim's disappearance. The video showed the defendant with blood stains on his arms and shirt as he was cleaning a gun. The shirt, which the defendant is wearing in the video, was analyzed and the victim's DNA was found on the shirt. The defendant was interviewed and made several claims that corroborated forensic evidence in addition to making numerous demonstrably false statements. Despite a thorough investigation and extensive search, the victim's body was not recovered due to the defendant removing and concealing it. Let's just see this one. This document is 3 pages long, and this is the order to continue the weapons trial. So based on the motion filed by the defendant, James Brenner, in the above entitled matter, and for good cause appearing, Mr. Brenner appeared in court on July 8th, 2022 for his initial appearance of the indictment. This is the second request to continue the trial date. So just to skip forward, he's actually set to be on trial in April this year, I believe, for these weapons charges. Yes. This lighting is making me look so warm. Looking so yellow right now. Okay, so we've got that. I just want to make sure that I'm showing you everything. Just hold on. There's that one. Brenner indictment we've looked at. Okay, I think we've pretty much looked at everything. What I want to show you now is this.
On May 30th, searchers at the time found boots belonging to Rounds. Well, investigators in court documents now say a blood stain on one of those boots contained DNA from Rounds and from Brenner. Additionally, detectives used phone records to track Rounds' movements the day of his disappearance in Lucin, where Brenner had been squatting. The phone data also showed the last signal from Rounds' phone.
Sorry, I don't know why it's breaking up like that.
Came around the Lucin Pond. Once investigators were able to find the phone there, documents say investigators analyzed it and recovered a time-lapse video from the day of Rounds' disappearance that showed Brenner with bloodstains on his shirt and arms as he cleaned a gun. Rounds' DNA was also found on that shirt, according to investigators. Well, family members said last year that Brenner had lived on a trailer on the family's property in the past and had worked occasionally with Dylan. They said Brenner was Rounds' closest neighbor at the time he disappeared. In a statement tonight, Dylan's family thanked everyone who supported.
I'm just going to pause it there. Sorry, it's a little bit like stuttery. I'm not sure why. Jackie says, wonder what time that time-lapse video was taken, who took it. I don't know. I think the phone like took it itself. From what I'm understanding, it's almost like the phone recorded that, but I'm not too sure. And yes, Dylan's parents said, Justin and I, this is from Candice Cooley, his mom, Justin and I would like to thank everyone for the support you've shown us as we focus on finding answers in the disappearance of Dylan. We ask you continue your thoughts and prayers for justice for Dylan and that we can bring him home. And also, someone else said earlier, the pond that was drained was on Dylan's farm. The phone was in the pond. Thank you, Living Today. That's what I was thinking. Plausibly, it would make sense because they drained that one. I don't think they would drain the other one because it's the water source for the area and it's a very dry area. So that does make sense that it would be the pond right there by his farm, by his camper. Okay.
Supported them as they focused on finding answers. They asked for, quote, thoughts and prayers for justice for Dylan, that we can bring him home. The documents acknowledge that despite extensive searching, Brown's body still has not been found due to, quote, Brenner removing and concealing it.
So we have a lot of information.
So this was from 11 days ago, this interview. And now knowing the information that has just come out, you can understand why Candice, Dylan's mom here, this is Dylan's mom and Dylan's biological dad in this interview. They are not married to each other, right? But they've been together searching and they've never, ever given up on finding Dylan, which has been amazing to see just their perseverance through it all. And the social media, I can't say it any other way, but shitstorm that took place. There was a lot of attacks they got, from some other PI guy and all kinds of stuff. It was horrible to see. The case really took a left turn to crazy town at a point, and they've just kept their focus, never given up on finding Dylan. So if you listen to this now, just know that now the information's come out. Like, okay, whoa, they've found things. They found Dylan's phone. They found information on the phone, and now they've charged James Brenner with murder. And also, I always want to just get the terms correct. Count 1 was aggravated murder, and count 2, abuse or desecration of a human body. So I thought we could watch the latest interview. We've watched a few of them together before. If you are interested in more content on this case that I've done on my channel, I do have a playlist for you. It's in the description box. Okay, so let's have a listen here.
Cannot publicly be released. It will completely jeopardize the case at this point. We are still actively back and forth between Lucin, unfortunately with the weather, until it breaks.
It's being funny. The internet's being funny today. Hold on.
Can be out there doing. But on the law enforcement side and with the other agencies now involved, especially, there is a lot of stuff that we just can't release. And I know you get it. We've talked about your emails, and we get it daily. And we've said from the very beginning, we will not release anything that will jeopardize Dylan's case, and we still stand by that statement.
Are things progressing behind the scenes?
Yeah, they are not at the speed we want them to, but there is progression.
And last we talked, actually, we've known this for several months now, that James Brenner, still the suspect in the disappearance, and police have actually said the homicide of Dylan. Any idea, is he cooperating?
To our knowledge and what we know, he hasn't been interviewed. There's still a lot of stuff going behind the scenes, and we understand that because when prosecution builds a case, now that we do have the prosecuting attorney involved, they want it to be solid before that moves forward. They don't want any holes, they don't want any blanks. So as frustrating as it is for us, we do understand that side of it.
And he is in custody, and if he has an attorney, a lot of times they can immediately have an attorney and say, you can't talk to our client.
Right. Yep.
So that could be happening. What about any additional evidence or any clues? Obviously, Dylan's body has not been found.
Correct, it has
he's
not.
Dead. But as you mentioned, it's the winter months, so it's hard to go out and dig in feet and feet of snow.
Yeah,
the roads don't get plowed there or anything.
Well, the last time Justin went out there with Paramount for something they wanted to film, they couldn't even get to where they wanted to film.
Oh, wow.
We couldn't get past Lucin Pond.
Yeah. So there's just nothing out there right now that you can go out. I mean, you take a snow machine out, but what are you going to do? The grounds.
Copper Horse, thank you so much. You say, in honor of Dylan and the faith they have in finding him, His family decided to plant sunflowers and black-eyed Susan wildflowers. Yes. Do you guys remember that? There was even, I posted a picture from Amsterdam too, where I took a picture of a sunflower and I'm like, wow, that just immediately reminded me of Dylan because of this, exactly this. Thank you so much, Copper Horse. Dylan grew up planting sunflowers in his yard and at his grandparents' homes. Light up the chat with sunflowers.
Froze, there's snow. We do know there's more evidence. We don't know what it is, and we're not even holding it back. We truly don't know. We just know that there's more.
That can be a good thing, considering the other option is the case is cold, or there are no leads anywhere.
Yeah, and it's halfway refreshing in the sense from the first 2 months that we were out there that we were the ones out there finding everything. We were the ones out there doing, and now there's stuff that's been processed and found that we don't know about. So that is kind of let you take a deep breath and feel like we don't have to play investigator right now.
Are you anticipating any major developments soon?
Yes, yeah. We were hoping to have them by now, but there's been some stalls and some hiccups.
You see, they knew what it was going to be, and now we know, right? Oh no, sorry, it went back.
And some hang-ups, and so we're patiently, waiting to see where it goes.
So, as I mentioned, it's been 9 months. What is it like, Justin? I mean, going that in 3 months, it'll be a year since you've last seen your son.
It doesn't even seem real. Well, I'm from this area, and I know a fair amount of people, and everybody will ask me if I know anything new, and I don't even really know what to tell them because I don't know what's even really going on. But it doesn't even seem real. I just be sitting there some nights and just all of a sudden feel like a kick in the gut and realize what's happening, that he's gone, and I don't even know how to explain it.
Well, I think I can kind of speak for both of us in a little bit of the sense that we haven't been able to step back and fully take it in because we've had a fight on our hands.
Yaya says, I've started some seedlings in memory of him. I mean, it's perfect timing, right, you guys? If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, spring is just around the corner. Perfect timing to plant some seeds. Thanks, Yaya. That's great.
So we haven't been able to put on the mom and dad emotion hat. We've put on the fight for your child hat. So we truly haven't got to take the time to figure those emotions out yet because we've been so busy fighting. So hopefully that's come to an end, and then we can go through those emotions. And with our other kids too, I mean, they're just like us. They're standing strong and they don't know what to think. None of
This interview was 11 days ago.
us do. We haven't been through this.
Yeah.
When you see some of these other cases nationwide where it takes 20 or 30 years before they find a body or get a confession or find DNA, I mean, I'm sure that's hard to think about, but maybe optimistic in a way that they are getting closed.
Yeah, there's some optimism.
Yeah, and there's there's so much technology and there's so much, and we don't know what we don't know, and hopefully it's as good as we're being told that can bring it to an end.
Hopefully.
At this point, our biggest problem is for the last 9 months we have been ran through the ringer with law enforcement. We have been, every time we turn around, something that's supposed to happen doesn't happen. It's just been this roller coaster of this is going to happen in 2 weeks, and 2 months later it hasn't happened. And so when we're told that, we don't know how to take it because none of it's been true.
We talk a lot about just trying not to get our hopes up too much.
Yeah, because
nothing ever hardly seems like anything comes out of anything.
Yeah, it's almost like we're given a grain of salt to back off, and that's what it feels like to us, and then that's what it has turned into for so many months now, that when we're told we have all this stuff but we can't tell you what it is, I mean, we instantly go to, do you really? Or are you just telling us that to keep us quiet? We don't know.
One of the other big things that was
I hope they have some comfort now that law enforcement's been working on probably really extracting that information. And I'm not too sure how that time-lapse video came to be, but however it came to be, there was evidence on Dylan Rounds' phone, time-lapse video, which showed Jim Brenner. It's James Jim Brenner, right? Yeah. cleaning a gun, and he had blood on his arms and on his shirt. And then he obviously washed the shirt because later law enforcement took the shirt and tested it and had Dylan's DNA on it. So technology saved the day.
Real hot at the beginning of when this story broke was the rumors and the YouTubers and people like that saying stuff. And I don't know, has that calmed down at all, or is...
Not really.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Dylan's case still seems to be a huge focus of a lot of the YouTubers and the rumor mill and stuff, and that's, you know, some of the stuff that's been portrayed in the media that, you know, it's not true, all these false statements about Dylan, that, you know, there's no backing to it, it just starts somewhere and then somebody else picks it up and then it just continues to grow. And so that's been, you know, that's been hard. The PI getting involved in the beginning and you know, that caused a mess out of everything. Just no fact basis to it, and so it really kind of put us chasing rabbit holes. But once again, that was law enforcement's downfall, because they should have been beside us saying, no, don't listen to this.
You hate to give any sort of credence to those rumors that are just completely out
yeah.
there. But is there any information that you want to clear up that you've heard published or seen?
Yeah, so there's been some publications lately. They got dates wrong, where Dylan was last seen. You know, all the information, all the interviews with you are on Dylan's Facebook page, pinned right to the top. You know, a lot of stuff has come out about us as a family causing harm in the investigation, and that is completely not the case, because we didn't even get an investigation going until June 16th. You know, there's been some stuff publicly said about how we released Dylan's boots being found. Well, people got to understand, when Dylan's boots were found, they were looking for somebody who walked into the desert. They weren't looking at anything. That was search and rescue. That was not law enforcement. And they were all volunteers and they were great, but that wasn't, we had no help from law enforcement. So we're like, okay, his boots are found. You know, we're releasing this stuff. We don't know any better. You know, we have not fought against law enforcement by any means. We have had every right to stand up and scream and demand the help that they're supposed to give us. So for them to say, all these media outlets and different people say, well, the family's harming the investigation, that is not the case. It is absolutely not the case. There would not have been a case had we not have screamed.
I believe that.
Truly, there would not have been a case. Box Elder County would have walked out of that desert on day number 2, and we would have got an update once every 6 months if we were lucky.
Like, these parents were so fierce and protective. They never gave up. They've been on it, proactive all the time.
None of the evidence would have been collected. The FBI wouldn't have got involved. Nothing would have happened.
If anybody would have been there and seen, they would understand. They would realize what we're saying.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Saying.
It was and the more we think back on it, and the more we look through it, and I go back through our first interviews and all the interviews I do, and I rewatch them, because sometimes it's still so surreal. When I think back on it, I'm like, man, is that really what happened out there? Is that really what we went through? Because we're still just consistently fighting. And so I have to rehear myself say it all and go back through my notes, and I'm like, yeah, this is really what happened to us, and this is how our son was treated. So as a family, we have not fought against law enforcement. We have done nothing but make them hold up their oath to protect and serve. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And hopefully, you know, speaking publicly and getting law enforcement to stay on this,
yes,
there can be a resolution soon. There are people watching that say, what can I do to help?
I know.
They want to do something, but they feel helpless, even if they don't know you. Is there anything that viewers can do?
So we're getting ready. We're probably by mid-March, we will have Dylan's Legacy fully launched. We will do seeds again, and I brought you some of these. These are the ones that we're going to do this year. We're going to do the
Oh man, she even brought seeds to Ned Eaton.
mammoth ones that Dylan loved. Oh, he loved planting those, watching them grow. They grow to 12 feet tall. We're going to get them out early, and so by Dylan's birthday, everybody will have 10-foot sunflowers to put on. We're going to raise some money to get some drones. We're still going to help EquiSearch and our canine group. We want to get a couple drones in Dylan's Legacy, because, you know, our fight with law enforcement was they wouldn't let EquiSearch come in. We couldn't get EquiSearch to come in until October. We want to have some drones on hand for Dylan's Legacy. I mean, most 6-year-olds can fly them. that if law enforcement says, no, we don't want to accept help from nonprofit organizations that have to have law enforcement's approval to come in, we'll have the capability to ship them out. Doesn't matter if law enforcement says no, they can't stop you for looking for your child. So I've been working with the guy in Canada who writes the software. So hopefully mid-March we'll have that launched. It'll be a whole new Facebook page, a website. It'll all be in Dylan's Legacy, and we'll get some stuff going.
And for people who haven't heard about the SEED, not program, but initiative, tell people what it is.
Yeah, so we're just going to ask, instead of doing the Black-Eyed Susans this year, we're just going to ask, we're going to distribute, we're not going to do individual packets this year because I think we mailed out over 7,000 last year. It was insane.
Smokes.
Yeah.
People all over the world that wanted to play in Dylan's honor. Wow.
So this year, through a bunch of the other foundations and other mothers that I've been working with, we got people, I think we're missing like 6 states that we'll just send out, 1,000 to this state, 1,000 to this state, and then we got people that'll help us distribute them to different pickup spots and get them planted. And then I've talked to some of the John Deere lots. I mean, I've kind of started working on it. There's a lot of people that for every sunflower that's put on Dylan's Facebook page, they'll donate $1. And that'll all go towards buying the drones. And then they'll just be shipped out. Find a drone pilot, and here's the technology. And if law enforcement won't call in the help, we will be able to just ship them out.
Wow.
Isn't that so nice, you guys? Is anyone here? I see some of you saying you're going to plant some sunflowers. That would be amazing. Sue Cole, thank you for your fair and detailed coverage of all these cases. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I would love to plant some sunflower seeds. Yes.
This might be too soon to ask, but if, let's say, you get a confession from someone, or they find out that somebody did do something to your son and it goes to trial, I mean, what do you want to happen? Obviously, you want him found.
Right.
That's number one.
That's number one.
Getting him found. Is there anything else? Have you gotten past that point of, somebody should pay for this? Have you thought much about that?
Oh, yes. We have thought a lot about that. And
maybe it changes day to day?
Yeah, I don't know. I think since about month 3, we've thought a lot about, once we close this, some exposure that needs to be made, some things that need to be changed in law enforcement. One of the main things being is, like in our case with Dylan, if a case is being treated the way Dylan's case was being treated, instead of us having to go to the SBI and the governor and all the government agencies in Utah and scream, there should be a panel. Some sort of panel, some sort of something you can go to in the court system and say, hey, this needs to have a lead office change, or somebody needs to step in and help. So there's got to be somewhere a parent can go, because truly we were getting nothing, absolutely nothing. And now it's turned into a homicide investigation, and that's because of us as a family. And so when we started screaming at Box Elder, and we said, we were calling the SBI and we were calling the governor's office and the attorney generals and the hundreds of thousands of people around the country that were also doing it, we shouldn't have had to do that. There should be somebody that we could go to and say, hey, this isn't being handled right. It's the same thing with Box Elder's internal investigation. We've still never seen anything on that, don't know who did it, never heard a word about it.
Thank you, Marco. You say plant you some sunflowers. Let's all do it. And if you do it, and if you do share it on, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, if you can say hashtag Dylan Rounds, hashtag justice for Dylan Rounds, and hashtag Grizzly True Crime, or tag me, then we can all retweet it. There's quite a lot of Grizzlies on Twitter, and we've got a whole thread going that Grizzly Cat made for us, Grizzly Pets we've got there. So maybe we could do that if we do plant some sunflowers for Dylan, or if you take pictures of them or whatever it is, maybe we could all share that on social media and start a thread and inspire others to do it too.
That's not right. As a family and what we had and all the proof we have of it, there should be a law passed that you go somewhere and you take it to them and they look at it and say, okay, yes, we need to bring in help. This law enforcement agency is over their head. And I truly believe Box Elder was in over their heads. And instead of admitting it, they made it excruciating on us. And so something there needs to change. So we have thought a lot about that. First and foremost is bring Dylan home.
Yeah.
Get Dylan home.
Yes. That's the goal. Get Dylan home. So, I really hope that James Brenner will fess up. Where did he hide Dylan's body? What happened? And I do wonder if maybe some of you are saying in the chat, maybe Dylan did start recording. If he did, I mean, wow, it's amazing. Then that final instinct, just like I'm just going to record, and the phone maybe you just recorded, and the time lapse could have also been made by law enforcement. If, for instance, that phone recorded for a while, you know what I mean? They could be making the time lapse so they could find the timestamp that they need to know, well, what happened and when did it happen. They didn't specify what that time was, but I'm sure, of course, they know exactly what it is. Amy Sherman, thank you so much. Really appreciated. NC says, bring Dylan home. Yes, I really hope that they will be able to. Here is from Candice Cooley's Facebook page. She shared a lot of photos of Dylan. So I just thought I'd show you some of those in case you haven't seen some of these pictures. Shame. I mean, he was just a teenager with a big dream. These are all the flyers that went around. You could see the reward was $10,000, $20,000, then eventually $200,000 for information. I mean, it's still up there. If anyone knows anything, I hope they'll say something. He's at Five Guys, right? I recognize that. That's Dylan with his mom. Look at him. Nap time with the dog. So sweet. Okay. So I won't go through all of them. I just wanted to show you some of them in case you have never seen it. This is him with his grandpa. There he is, doing what he loves. There's, you could see the work boots, the type of farm boots he wears. So yes, you guys, I just want to make sure that I've showed you everything. Just 1 second, please. There is a group called Find Dylan Rounds Official that you can follow on Facebook as well. They've got lots of updates there. And that is where Candice Cooley made a statement here. Justin and I would like to thank everyone for the support you've shown us as we focus on finding answers in the disappearance of Dylan. James Brenner has been listed as the official suspect since July 2022. Today, James Brenner was charged with aggravated murder and desecration of a corpse. The charges are based on solid evidence that has been released by Box Elder. We ask you to continue your thoughts and prayers for justice for Dylan and that we can bring him home. So you can follow the Find Dylan Rounds official group, and you can see this post as well. And what else do I have here? This was the Box Elder post I read to you earlier. So I hope that those of you, let's see what you eventually said on the poll there quickly. I hope that those of you who knew nothing about the case, that you now know more about it. So poll results said, have you been following this case? Okay, 33% said yes, very closely. And so, okay, 33%. And then 45% said yes, but I need a refresher. So I hope that you guys have been all refreshed on the timeline and what happened and where. 18% said no, never heard of it. And 4% said, I don't know, remind me. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll there. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. It's very sad news, but at the same time, I feel like no news or just a mystery and someone just, vanishing is worse. There's at least the ball is rolling to answers. There is a suspect in jail with multiple charges, 2 different cases. One is for weapons charges, and now he's got the murder charges as well. So whether they're going to combine those or not, I don't know. Whether the death penalty will be on the table or not, and whether they'll then say, well, we got a plea deal for you. Can you just tell us where he is? We don't know. We're yet to see. So I will keep you posted. So if you do want to continue to follow this case with me, make sure you are subscribed and you've got the bell on, turned to all, so that you don't miss the videos or uploads or shorts or community posts or anything that I make for you. Thank you so much, NC. Your profile picture here always makes me smile. Justice for Dylan. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Yes. So I hope that today's episode was helpful. I'm feeling all caught up on the case again as well. It's been quite a few months since we last talked about the case. There hasn't been that much, going on in it, except in between. Literally, the case went to crazy town. It was terrible. It was like total circus. You know, very sad to see. And now, okay, we're back to paperwork, to logic, and I hope that that James Brenner will speak up, because yeah, he better. He literally got nothing to lose. The docket. You say thanks, G, and thanks to the docket. If you guys want to go subscribe over there, we always appreciate the paperwork so much. Thank you, mods. I will see all of you again soon. Let me take that slow mode off. Hold on 1 second. We like it when we're saying goodbye, that you can chat as fast as you guys like. So here we go. Okay, I'm going to play the outro, and I will see you again in the next one. I'll probably see you tomorrow. So I'm working on a few other cases. There's always something I'm working on for you guys behind the scenes. If you want to watch that whole, all these clips and things and the intro and everything I made for you, and if you want to see documents and stuff, that's all on Patreon. The last thing I want to say before I go is I am seeing speculation in the Idaho case about Elliot Rodger and his page 118 and Brian Koberger and all that. If you lost on it, don't worry. But if you know what I'm talking about, just know on Patreon, we've done it was patron and members. We did an 11-hour deep dive on Elliot Rodger's manifesto. On Patreon, if you go there, you get a certificate. Like literally one of the Grizzlies made us a certificate because we all felt like we'd done a whole course on Elliot Rodger. So if you want to check that out, it's all on Patreon. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. And I will see you again in the next one. Bye.